I'm CK. Tonight we've got another kit from Whadda out of Belgium. It's their Super Stereo Ear. Looks like it's got a couple of microphones and a couple other things going on with it. Looks like it might be kind of fun. It is a level 2 difficulty, so it might be it's a little more challenging than their basic starter kits. So that'll be fun, and I hope you enjoy the video. Here's the box. Super Stereo Ear, sound, soldering, level 2. Picture of the parts that are in the box. QR code for the build guide, probably. Yes, it is for the build guide. Now, one thing they do which I kind of like, they have a generic box that they put a wrap on for whatever product they're currently putting in there, which I think makes a lot of sense. Let's open this up. There's a pull tab here. Oh, and by the way, I get these Whadda kits from a company called Jameco at jameco.com. They're based in Northern California, and they give pretty good service. Pull this all apart. Oops. Thing's jumping on the floor. Hold on a second. What jumped on the floor? The circuit board jumped on the floor. That's no good. Start with the sheet of paper. Some basic soldering tips, and it tells you where the resistors go, and again it's got the resistor colors, as in all their kits, in all kinds of languages. So if you want to learn your colors, look at that. Caps, LEDs, switch, socket for ICs, a couple of power risers, 2 microphones, electrolytic caps, a phone jack, potentiometer, and batteries. And here's the schematic. Let's see what we've got. LED there, capacitor there, power coming in here. An NE5532, I'm not sure what that is. Looks like an op amp, but I'm not certain. And this should be another one. It's not labeled as such. It just says IC 1A and 1B. Maybe it's a dual op amp or a quad op amp, and they're just saying which circuit in the op amp is actually being used. And then the phone jack. So pretty simple circuit. And I'm sorry, I can't see the microphones. Why am I not seeing the microphones? I know they're here. Oh, there we are. There's one there and one there. Okay. See what parts. Takes 3 AA's. I mean AAA's. No double A's, silly person. That's quite a bit, actually. Let's look at the circuit board. Velleman, who is the owner company of Whadda. All the parts are clearly labeled, even though they don't have their values on them. So, and there is only one IC, so that would mean the 2 op amps are in one package. Microphone positioning. Back of the board feels a little... I'll wash it with some isopropyl alcohol off camera. Look at the parts. Bunch of resistors. And not a resistor. Oh, that's a little 104 cap in an inline package. That's weird. I don't believe I've ever seen that. No, I have not seen a 104 in a straight line package like that, because they're usually I'll show you in a little bit. But resistors and one 104 100 nanofarad cap. We've got a bunch of other stuff in here. These are our 101s, and that's the way, I mean, we all know that's the way caps usually look. Bunch of electrolytic caps, more electrolytic caps than I would have expected in here. The two microphones, and they've got a pin to make sure you get the polarity right. These are the little posts that we'll put in here. That's where we're going to be connecting the power, I'm going to bet. A little 50K pot. And then this is the Texas Instrument NE5532. I'll look that up off camera. Little spacer, and that's it. So it's a pretty simple kit, but it looks like it might be kind of fun. So we'll get into it. I'll get the soldering iron heated up, and we'll put this thing together. So I looked it up, and yeah, it's a op-amp optimized for audio. So I did wash the back of the board with isopropyl alcohol to get rid of any residue. As I said, I felt a little bit of something on there. So let's go ahead and do one resistor. It looks like, and I'm going to double check this, yeah, the resistors are laid out in order of assembly as listed in the guide, which is convenient. And they've got, that's a weird one. I was just looking at these. These are 8E2s. I don't think I've ever used an 8E2 resistor. And then we've got a 0 ohm resistor, which is effectively just a jumper. So that's just interesting. So we've got two 10Ks to put on the board first. And they go in R1 and R2. Interesting, these guys actually put the resistors in numeric order. I appreciate that. See how close we have to bend the leads. Let's say give it a millimeter on each side away from the body. We'll see how well the board takes solder. Yeah, see, this is the same problem I had on their other board. The holes in the, because they're not through-hole plated, and the holes in the circuit board are really big. The leads, as you can see, there's a lot of space around the leads. So as you solder, it can create a well around the lead, and I also found in some cases it didn't even, the wire wasn't even captured by it. So you just have to be a little careful with these leads. It would be nicer if they would do slightly smaller holes, but that's okay. So that's one resistor. There's not much to say more about the resistors, so I'm going to turn off the comment. I'm not going to be commenting. I'm going to put some music behind this and play it back at high speed so you can watch all the resistors just fly on the board. That's all the resistors. I looked up the 8E2 offline, I mean, while I was doing this, and it's a European usage. In some countries, apparently the E is the same as we would use in the US when we say 8R2 or something like that. So this is a 8.2, these are 8.2 ohm resistors. So now we know. So we'll do C10, which is this 100 nanofarad flat cap. Figure out where that is. There's C11, there's C10. And we've got our 200 picofarads, the 101s. Yep, 101s. And as always, I don't try and fight them out of this tape. I just clip them off. You end up bending leads and doing things like that if you try and fight with the things. Here's the LED. The shaded side is the negative side, and you can also see there's a little flat spot indicated there. So that's the negative side, cathode side. And we're going to bring it down, and we want to have it bent to the side just for fun, I guess. I don't see why it can't be straight up and down, but that's the way they designed, that's the way the diagram shows it, and that's the way they want it. I'm fine with that. Let me solder these little guys down. So the top camera went off for some reason, so I had to reset the cameras. I don't know, it's been doing that lately. And both my cameras are Nikon, so I don't expect them to behave badly. When they do, it's irritating, and I'm also not watching for it often. Make sure this LED is aimed a particular way. Well, I'm sorry, I don't really care. Don't mean to be cruel to the board designer, but I don't care if it's standing up straight or poking out to the side. Now we'll get the switch. Where's the little switch? There it is. Switch goes here, can only go one way. Well, you could put it that way, but that would be crashing into the capacitor, and that wouldn't do anybody any good. So to get this flat on the board, I'm going to rest it on my pinky finger and do one leg and double check it. Yep, that's flat on the board. So going back to the 8E2, since this kit is from Belgium, that makes sense, because again, the E instead of the R is European usage. Now we'll put the IC socket on, and it goes, there's a notch there, match that to the notch on the IC. And again, I'm going to rest that on my pinky finger. Solder, would you stop jumping out of the basket? There's a piece of wire. It keeps jumping out of my wire basket when I grab my soldering iron because I moved it the other day. Okay, we've got one leg soldered, and as you can see, the socket is not flat on the board, and I didn't really try really hard to get it that way, so I will simply reheat that solder ball, push on the socket. It's almost flat, but not quite, so I'll do it one more time. And now I really messed it up. There we go. Now you can see it's flat on the board. It's time to put the pins in. It says mic left and mic right, but I don't understand what they mean there. Oh, really? Okay, so the two mics are going to go facing flat on the board and facing outward. So we're not going to put the pins in and then aim them out and then bend the wires out. We're going to use these little posts little silver posts, and we're going to put them in the circuit board holes, and then we're going to solder the mics to them. It's a little extra work, and because these are solid metal, you'll want to heat them up a little bit more to make sure the solder adheres really well. Just stay on it a little bit longer than you normally would. And since they're just pieces of metal, you're not going to damage them like if you were to hold your soldering iron on an LED or a diode for too long and destroy it. Yep, and of course flipping it over. They gave us plenty of spare pins, by the way, just in case they do roll away like that one was trying to. If you look on the circuit board, and it's also pointed out, there's one straight lead, and there's one lead that's got a little line with it. That's where that little line is where that tab is, because you want to get the polarity right. So we'll be doing that, and then we've got to get this wire over here. And this wire, I'll circle it around like that. That should be good. I'm going to do one at a time so I don't knock them loose. Double checking my polarity. And I'm going to spin this around so it faces right. Just making sure, triple checking polarity. Okay, that one's good. Now we'll go over to the other mic. Same thing. I'll spread the leads out a little bit before I do it this time. Wrap that wire there. Wrap that wire there. Not even wrapping, I mean I'm just bending it. I'm not trying to wrap it around the post. These posts take solder really well. I appreciate that. Now our electrolytics. Now the 470s, these are some beefy caps. And I think, and let me take a look here just for my own sake. So these are some beefy caps, and they go C5 through C7. Now the phone jack. And that's staying in there friction fit pretty well. You do want to make sure you use a good bit of solder on things like phone jacks, because it's the only support they're getting when you're pushing the headphone jack in and out. So use a good bit of solder. Now we'll put the potentiometer volume control on. Now we'll put the IC in the socket, which is a little bit difficult with the caps on top of everything, because those 470s are pretty high, pretty tall that is, but not too bad. And it doesn't have a notch, it has a little dot, but that is the notch end, so that's got to go where the notch on the socket is. And that's all in, everything's in right. Now we're going to connect the battery holder. And it screws onto the back. They've given us some spacers and some screws. So we'll put the screw through, one of the screws through. Put the spacer on the screw. and put it up against the board and get the nut for that screw. Hopefully I can thread it. And do the same thing with the other one. And that's why I didn't tighten that, because I wanted to swivel it out of the way so I could put the next screw in. Now we'll tighten it. Now I could have soldered the wires before I put it on, but I don't really care. It's easy enough to get it in there. Red wire in the plus position. I'm not going to trim the wires. You probably would want to, if you're going to use this for actually listening to stuff. Check the wires are tight. They are. Get my, what kind of screw? Flathead screws. And they're big too. I'm not going to tighten them too much. Okay, let me find some batteries. Back in a second. Tuck our batteries in the box. And hopefully the switch is in the off position. I mean, not hopefully, it's not going to hurt anything if it isn't. Okay, so there it is. They do have a panel nut for this potentiometer if you wanted to put it in a panel. I don't know. I guess you could. But they give you the option. That's nice. Now, I realized as I was putting the microphones on that you're not going to be able to hear whether this is working, but I'm going to give it a try first, and then I think I do have a plan for that. So hold on one sec. Let's put the jack in from my little... Turn the switch on, and nothing happens. Let me make sure these batteries actually have power. I'm not showing any power from those batteries. I think they're drained. Okay, let me go get some other batteries. As I was taking the batteries out to go get new ones, I actually looked at this one, and it's so tight in here, it wasn't actually contacting the end there. So these batteries are, in fact, okay. I thought they were. I think I only used them like for one thing, but it was just not making contact on the positive end. Now let me check that again really quickly. Stand this up. Okay, now we've got voltage. Now we got voltage. Now we'll switch this, flip the switch, and wow, the LED comes on. Ah, it might be. Well, I don't know why it's coming back off. Let me plug this in. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Let me get into the shot a little bit. So speaking into the right one puts it in my right ear. Speaking into the left one, well, actually it's right. I've got it reversed in my ears right now. But it works just fine. And again, you can't hear it, and I'm turning the volume up. It amplifies pretty well. Let me see this. So what I'm going to do, so you can hear it, let me grab a cheap speaker. Cheap speaker. This is a mono jack. I don't have a stereo one set up, but it'll have to do. So I just clip. Is that the red? Yeah, the red goes here. Just clip that onto this cheapy speaker and see if we can make it go. It's amplifying enough that I think it'll drive the speaker pretty well. Let me get my mic over there. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. No, it's not. 1, 2. Oh, I can hear it. But it's very low, and it's for good reason. I mean, this is not designed to work with a speaker. Fun little kit, and you can, I'm not real sure what the utility of it is, but you can aim it around and aim it at yourself. Good learning kit, and I think learning about this particular chip, if you want to go more in depth, go to Texas Instruments website, and they have a data sheet for this chip, and they also have some good articles, technical articles that go along with how to use a chip like this in an amplifying circuit, in a headphone circuit, in other circuits, and as I said, they actually have some evaluation boards to do things that you can really use this chip in interesting ways. So that's fun. So that's it, and I hope you enjoyed the video.